welcome tonight. There's a bit of a debate. We've got 7:05 or 4 on the Anola clock, and I've got 6:58 on my Apple phone, so we'll start. We might need a couple more chairs set up at the back. I'm not sure. There's some seats right up front for people. So good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for attending Councillor Andy Kuczynski and Mark Miller's Spring Public Meeting. We're really happy to see everybody. We all know what a beautiful night it is out tonight, and we appreciate you taking the time to attend. I saw some farmers sowing their fields as I came by, so everyone's getting ready to do their spring work. My name is Carolyn White. I'm a long-term resident of Springfield, and I'll be your moderator tonight. Can everybody hear me back there? Yes. It's okay? So we're all very appreciative of the opportunity that Mark and Andy have provided us with this public meeting to get more information and answer your questions. We want to hear from people tonight. We are all here tonight because we care about Springfield. I think we share that in common and the important issues that we're facing. So firstly, I'm going to introduce Mark and Andy. Councillor Andy Kuczynski is Councillor for Ward 2, has been a member of our community for 37 years. His decision to get involved in local government stems from a genuine desire to serve and improve Springfield. With 35 years of self-employment, Andy's strong pro-business advocate, and his voting record reflects this commitment, having supported numerous business and development projects that have contributed to Springfield's growth. As councillor, Andy has been a passionate defender of our community's interests. He has prioritized protecting our water resources, most notably opposing Sio Silica, while also championing residents' rights to speak during question period and delegations. He has strongly advocated for fiscal responsibility, lower taxation, and efforts to withdraw from the Winnipeg metropolitan region. Yes. Additionally, he has consistently stood against unwanted and costly developments that do not serve our community's best interests. Andy is proud to serve both the rural community and the town of Oak Bank. He takes great pride in his integrity, honesty, and his unwavering commitment to maintaining Springfield's rural identity and supporting all residents. So let's welcome Andy. Yeah. Mark Miller is Councillor for Ward 3, including the communities of Cooks Creek, Hazel Ridge, and Pine Ridge. He is committed to fostering the uniqueness of his ward with treasures like the Cooks Creek Heritage Museum, the Grotto at Immaculate Conception Church, both Cooks Creek and Hazel Ridge community centers, the horse culture, and many others. He stands firm in his commitments of honesty, fiscal prudence, environmental protection, and public engagement. Mark and Deanne live on a 20-acre ag property on Melrose Road and have resided in Springfield since 2000. Their 2 children both graduated from local schools and continue to live in Springfield. As many know, Mark was a lead proponent with Andy on council in the opposition to Sio Silica. He recently voted against the proposed increase to your taxes in the 2026 budget and continues to fight for public involvement between elections in co-hosting events like this one tonight. Mark is a proponent of fiscal responsibility, being the cheapest member on the council. Right. In all 4 years, he has the lowest expenses. To him, growth in Springfield is inevitable and critical, but should be reflective of the public sentiment. He believes people should have a strong voice, even after elections, through the mechanisms of referendums, polls, public engagement, and direct access. So let's welcome Mark. So we're going to acknowledge a couple of people in the audience. We have school trustee Lorraine Boydson right there. Lorraine, can you say hello? When I went to say hi to Lorraine, she says, I'm not here as school trustee, I'm here as a citizen. So that's what she is tonight. Okay. And past Councillor Val Relke. Hi, Val. Anyone else I've missed? Okay. And we have Dr. Daniel Page, who has registered to run for mayor.
Right on,
So tonight's goal is to hear presentations from our speakers, our councillors, and an opportunity for your questions. Here's the format. So we'll have two speakers, then about 4 to 5 audience questions at the mic, then 2 more speakers, 4 or 5 more questions, then we'll hand it over to Mark and Andy. They'll have things to say, and then more questions after that. So there's lots of opportunity for questions. We ask for questions of any kind, no restrictions. Please come to the mic over there. That's our mic. If you would rather, you can also text your question to the number up there, 204-791-6270, and Alan is going to either read it out or give it to me to read. We ask that when you come up to the mic to state your name and your question. We appreciate a follow-up question after the councillor's or speaker's response to your question. We welcome that. And our first speaker, our first presenter is Georgina Mustard. Georgina is a longtime resident of Vivian. Her and her husband Josh are parents to 8 wonderful children and grandparents to 1 grandchild. And Georgina's family now proudly has 5 generations living in Springfield. She has been an active member of the community, including volunteering at the Anola Community Club right here for fall suppers and dances. Georgina currently coaches soccer in Anola and has played a strong role in the effort to stop Sio Silica. Please help me in welcoming Georgina Mustard.
Good evening, everyone. Closer? Is that better?
Yeah.
Thank you for attending tonight, and thank you to Mark and Andy for hosting. I'd also like to give a special thanks to Mark and Andy. They said no to Sio early on in their application process and never wavered. They stood up and fought against Sio Silica when many others did not. Once again, my name is Georgina Mustard. I lived in Springfield for 30 years. In that time, my husband and I have raised 8 children. Our kids are now the 4th generation living on the same property. Around 2016, a company called Can White Sands, now known as Sio Silica, came into our community. They were sharing information and talking about setting up a large-scale silica manufacturing facility right behind us. It wasn't until June of 2020 that I heard more about this company. A group of passionate people had set up in Anola with a petition against the project. 4 years later, I learned about the potential threat to our drinking water, the same water our families and livestock rely on every day. What worried me most was that no representative from this company had ever reached out to contact us. That silence spoke volumes. Later that same day, I met with people from our community and reporters from CTV News. I saw for the first time a pile of silica sand uncovered and blowing in the breeze. I couldn't believe it. Silica sand blowing in the air is a significant health risk. When particles are inhaled deep in the lungs, it can cause long-term serious diseases like silicosis and lung cancer. Sio Silica was negligent in keeping these silica sand piles properly covered up. If Sio Silica doesn't cover them up now, how can we trust they will properly cover them up in the future? From that moment forward, my journey began, attending meetings, going to rallies, and speaking at Clean Environment Commission and Municipal Board hearings. I wanted to assist and do my part. In the summer of 2023, I spent countless evenings going door to door with a petition, helping people understand what this project really meant. It wasn't just about my family or my well, It could affect over 100,000 Manitobans who rely on the same groundwater system. And that work hasn't stopped. Even now, we are going door to door, not just talking, but listening. Residents are sharing real concerns about Sio Silica potentially moving forward, especially the costs tied to the water treatment and wastewater infrastructure. People are asking important questions, and many people feel those questions are being left unanswered. In Ward 4, there's growing frustration about the absence of their councillor during such a critical time. Because of that, conversations are already turning towards the next election. Residents are saying clearly, when candidates come to their doors, they will be asking where they stand and how they plan to support the people who live there. If our drinking water is compromised, what options are we left with? We can't hook up to a city supply. Our farmers would lose their water for crops and animals. The land could collapse from hollow cavities left behind after mining. Our property values would plummet. Why would we risk that? This drilling method has never been done anywhere else in the world. Without clean water, our land would be useless, and we can't live without water. It's a basic necessity that means everything. In February 2024, the Environment Minister Tracy Schmidt rejected Sio Silica's application for an environmental license. The decision was based on the serious environmental risks the project posed, especially the danger to our drinking water, and the fact that the company's extraction method was new and unproven. If this project had gone ahead, we would have lost our rural identity as we know it. There would have been noise, light pollution, and the loss of our existing wildlife. One of my family's favorite pastimes is sitting around a bonfire enjoying each other's company, looking up at the stars and counting the shooting stars and satellites. I want to protect that simple joy for generations to come. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't do this all by myself. I like to say there's kind of an army of us. From Springfield, Reynolds, Taché, and beyond. I want to thank the Springfield Taxpayers Group, my friends, neighbors, and everyone who stood up and lent their voice, and also our line in the sand. Thank you.
Thanks, Georgina. Also present tonight is Ernie Nathaniel. I call him the man behind the camera. So there he is, who after years of working on this Sio Silica documentary has finally received funding from the Canada Media Fund to complete his project. That's really big news. We're so happy that this story is going to be told, and Ernie has been instrumental in that. We are very pleased to show you Ernie's documentary trailer here tonight. The full documentary will showcase how a dedicated and determined community came together to oppose big mining and big government, and to protect what will be there in a few years, the world's most precious resource, our drinking water. Ernie's also grateful to have the help of a dear friend, one of only 2 full members in Manitoba of the Canadian Society of Cinematographers, Charles Canoel. And here's the trailer.
They're proposing to do it by forced air, pretending that it's not going to cause collapse. I don't know how in the hell they can make that kind of an assumption. We just don't know. In fact, if you ask me to guess, my guess would be that after a not very long while, that it will start to collapse all over the place. And we'll have sinkhole after sinkhole. And number one, and number two, what happens to the water supply? Who in the hell knows?
Look, we don't know that you can do this safely. And if we can't do it safely, we shouldn't be doing it.
If I had known that I had my house on the line, so to speak, I'm not sure that I would have done this. But, you know, I believe so thoroughly in this issue of protecting our water that we have to continue to strive forth.
It cannot work. It's bull. That's the best way I can describe it. The other thing, once our water supply is gone, what's our land worth?
Zero. We won't be able to sell it if we don't have clean water.
This is the story of sand. This sand is found deep in the ground in a pristine drinking water aquifer in southeastern Manitoba. This is a David and Goliath story of a small community trying to protect their water.
We've got an in situ amount of sand in the ground of 2.1 billion tons of sand.
We're talking about an aquifer with some of the best water quality in the world. And its quality is such that it received a number of years ago a gold medal award internationally for the quality of the water in this southeast Manitoba.
Over 300 wells will be drilled in the first year alone. 10,000 wells will be drilled over 24 years. 85,000 hectares of total mining rights have been obtained, or twice the size of Winnipeg.
Why are homes experiencing disturbances to their water, changes to their water?
I'm scared. And you guys don't live here. But we're going to live here. And we are going to be the big losers.
Their statements are so egregious. This is carpet bombing. They're going to have connecting slurry lines running up and down and all these blue dots. They're going to have all this equipment moving in and out. And that's not a disturbance? Come on.
Mr. Hartley, your time is up, sir.
No, I did not stop it. You gave me 15 minutes in print and I'm carrying on. Who wants me to carry on? So they shut my microphone off to muzzle me. I'm reading the rest of this so that you can hear. And if you want to shut it off, fine.
It will not be on the transcript, sir. Your time is up.
For us to get to production, it's going to be about a $60 million capital cost. What's our business model? You know, my last company I built and sold. I'll be honest, that's the business intent here, is to build and sell.
Sio Silica is the latest in a long line of companies attracted to the sand in this pristine aquifer. In a recent prospectus, the company has a net present valuation of $3.9 billion and is to be acquired by Pyrophyte Acquisition Corporation for $708 million, applying an 80% discount.
For us to get to production, it's going to be about a $60 million capital cost.
A $708 million sale is a huge incentive. Dr. Bernard Duroc-Danner, now chairman of Sio Silica's partner Pyrophyte, once led oil field giant Weatherford. In 2013, the company was fined over $250 million for bribery, falsified records, and illegal deals with sanctioned regimes, one of the largest corruption cases in the industry's history.
One of the things that we've learned is that we cannot count on anybody to protect us. We have to protect ourselves, our own community. We don't have opportunity like the rest of Manitobans.
Sio Silica is in discussions with our community leadership on a potential partnership from $10 to $12 million, and then after a few years of production, moving up to $20 million a year.
The formation wants to give us water. It wants to give us sand. And so with just simple air.
But this air is not that simple. The oxygen is being introduced into an anaerobic environment and reacts with sulfides, pyrite, and marcasite to produce acids and the leaching of toxic heavy metals like selenium.
When you ran out of water,
the outside taps, for example, this brown shed would come up.
Side-scan sonar revealed the complete collapse of the shale aquitard following the creation of a 60-meter wide void, causing the mixing of the aquifers prohibited by the Manitoba Water Act.
The new NDP government claims the PCs tried to push that approval through days after the Tories lost Manitoba's election.
I'm just going to stick to what the Conflict of Interest Commissioner ruled. She broke the law, she violated our constitutional principle of the Caretaker Convention, and she was fined $18,000. First time that's ever happened in history.
One of the things he talked about was that there'll come a time, and he hoped that it wouldn't be in his lifetime, but he hoped it would never come. They'll be fighting over water because there'll be no more water.
Reminds me of the late Mark Twain. Water is not for drinking. Whiskey is for drinking. Water is for fighting over.
Wow. Once again, thanks for Ernie for documenting all of that. That's invaluable. And Ernie always welcomes people's input. That's how he's gotten his material for the documentary. So please feel free to talk to Ernie at the end of the evening. Your input is valuable. Our next presenter is Tangi Bell. Tangi is a long-term resident of Springfield and the chair of Our Line in the Sand Manitoba. Our Line in the Sand Manitoba is a citizen advocacy group which advocates for the protection of Eastern Manitoba's watershed and for meaningful reform of environment and mineral policy. Our Line in the Sand continues to petition the province for this reform. There's a petition right at the back where you can sign that's going to go to the Manitoba government for this reform. So if you haven't signed it, you have an opportunity to do so. They continue to petition the province for this reform and has brought the petition tonight for all of us to sign and join thousands of other Manitobans seeking to protect the environment. From day one, Tangi has had a leading role in the efforts to oppose the Sio Silica project. She is another invaluable person. Please help me in welcoming Tangi Bell.
So thank you for that very kind introduction, and thank you to Ernie and his crew and Interlace Media for your documentary. It's a story that needs to be told, speaking truth to power amidst regulatory capture and corporate entitlement. Thank you to Councillors Kuczynski and Miller for arranging this community meeting and inviting Our Line in the Sand Manitoba to provide a quick update on Sio Silica. And what we'll do is we'll just start off with the recent CBC News coverage on the attendance of the Deputy Minister of Mines alongside Sio Silica's newest board member who is here tonight to a U.S. trade mission. As stated in the coverage, we are of the opinion that this compromises the assessment and licensing process that is underway. We would like the province to reform the Environment Act to prohibit developers' access to elected and senior officials while their environmental license applications are under review. It should also be extended to cover advertising and petitioning, which appears to serve no other purpose than to influence the public and decision makers. Reform needs to address the imbalance of power and influence by vested interests through their unequal access to government decision makers. There is far too much inequality in the current process. The CBC News coverage also covered the public inquiry into Sio Silica, and so we'll be seeing that. Now, although Budget 2026 stated the terms of reference and a commissioner would be named later this year, it appears that Premier Canoe described the terms, and I quote, "Affairs of this company and their activities, the activities of one of their board members, one of their employees, and potentially more people would be investigated. The individuals were not identified in the news article,
We do know of one employee has left Canada to work in Colombia, possibly for a mining company that is connected to Sio. We commend the province for calling that inquiry. It needs to happen, and we do have concerns. From our perspective, and as documented throughout the former Ethics Commissioner's report that Premier Canoe referred to, it is the alarming, unhealthy relationships existing between the public service, elected officials, and with Sio Silica that demands to be reflected in the terms. And we're not alone in that. A former senior bureaucrat wrote, not only elected officials, but bureaucrats must also be held accountable. Manitoba public servants work at closer proximity to politicians than in any other jurisdiction with ministers and deputy ministers. Proximity can lead to capturing ideals and implementation and an unhealthy accommodation of getting along to go along, unquote. It is crucial that the inquiry investigates this, as many officials have been present since 2016 when Sio started in the province and remain in government today. Is our public service captured? Did then Environment Minister, the Honourable Tracy Schmidt, utilize Section 11 of the Environment Act to remove the Director of the Environmental Approvals Branch from the licensing decision because the department was compromised? According to the ethics report, that section had never been used before. What of the processing and rail facility? Did it suffer the same pressure and capture documented in the report? What of the municipal board and the CEC hearings? Municipalities, did the RM of Springfield follow proper municipal procedures in their dealings with Sio? Why did they refuse to engage in the CEC hearing? Other municipalities did so without compromising neutrality and advocating for their communities. After Wayne Owasco, an MLA for Lactabani, appeared before the RM of Reynolds Council, ratepayers were saddled with the purchase of Crown land and zoning changes to benefit Sio Silica and RCT Solutions. It is important that the terms of reference cover this and answer these and many more questions. Clearly, the upcoming public inquiry must investigate the handling of Sio Silica's mining and processing rail project by all government departments. The government of Manitoba has now the opportunity that is crucial in establishing a trustworthy public service, an environmental and mineral policy that puts the planet and people first, ensuring that political interference will no longer compromise the assessment and licensing of development in Manitoba. As you know, that Sio filed their second application August 18, 2025. 76 later, the public registry uploaded it. We are alarmed that the approvals branch even accepted Sio's second application for a review. 20 months since their first application was rejected. We, in our opinion, find nothing has substantially changed from the first application, other than Sio finally admitting to depositing oxygen into the aquifer. Their modeling shows that dissolution of selenium, arsenic, and uranium naturally present in the system will occur. Selenium was modeled to be above drinking water standards for close to 10 years. Arsenic and uranium are at elevated levels. The thing about arsenic is if you boil it, it increases, the levels increase. So what do citizens do for 200 years, the proposed life of the project? Sio did not provide their management plan or the other plans that the CEC requested that they put forward. Sio proposes to provide that information after 4 years of baseline data collection and figuring out their mining. Sio came into Manitoba in 2016. Their inability to produce credible data and address risks identified in the provincial reviews and CEC hearing is a red flag. It emphasizes the immaturity of the project and that it is not being developed in Manitobans' best interest. Selenium and arsenic and uranium are extremely difficult, if not impossible, to mitigate. Remediation of selenium from mining is costing BC billions. Virgin Manitoba, it was just in the news recently, it has been for over a decade, because they've been trying to bring down their arsenic levels from their water supply. Even with upgrades to their reverse osmosis system, it is posing a problem. Should this not be reason enough to shut down the project? We think so. CIO's application does not adequately address the deficient or missing information discovered during the Clean Environment Commission hearing. CIO has failed to address questions posed by the CEC. CIO has failed to produce all 10 management and mitigation plans that the CEC recommended be distributed to the public for review. CIO failed to carry out the recommended cumulative effects assessment, which would evaluate the combined effects of the project alongside other past, present, and future proposals, future developments, I should say. CIO says that's not a requirement for proposals in Manitoba. However, the Department of Environment and Climate Change has the authority under the Environment Act to direct CIO to carry out that assessment. This has not occurred to our knowledge. It is noteworthy that in material filed to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission for the adjacent mineral property, CIO stated they intend to proceed with the project development in 2026. So it is plausible that both properties would operate simultaneously. This may also occur with their other two properties and would include supporting infrastructure such as a processing facilities and manufacturing and rail yards and such. Their refusal to produce a cumulative effects assessment is telling. The extent of irreversible damage and potential contamination to water, air, and ecosystems would appear to be obvious. Although scaled back for the first 4 years, CIO's second application contains the same high-risk, unsafe, and irredeemable operation previously proposed. These 4 years are an experiment, an effort to collect baseline data and figure out operations. It is unacceptable to hand an Environment Act license to a concept. To bake the CEC recommendations into a stepwise license goes against best practice standards for impact assessment. Manitoba Eco Network and ourselves argued against this during the hearing. The CEC recommendations are to fill in the information gaps and address the public concerns before a license is issued, if at all. Why would the department go against best practice standards? Why would the department go against the former Environment and Climate Change Minister's decision to reject licensing because they, and I quote, were not satisfied that the potential environmental effects can be addressed through license conditions, even on a stepwise basis, and that drinking water can be protected now and for future generations. This stepwise is the basis of CIO's second application. The CIO project must be rejected now. Don't waste any more public tax dollars. And it must not be allowed to move forward in the process, but if it is allowed to continue, the CIO must produce a comprehensive assessment of their project, including a cumulative effects assessment. The project be classified as a Class 3 development, and the CEC hold a public hearing with full participant funding. That individual who attended the U.S. Trade Mission along with the Deputy Minister for Mines is latest in Sio Silica's political game of hiring Conservative Party affiliates to push their project. February 20th is when Jack Winram was announced, that Sio's announced, that he would be their new development officer. And 7 days later, Mr. Winram stepped down as Executive Director of Manitoba Environmental Industries Association, MIA, and officially started repping Sio. Now, MIA serves as the province's sector council for the natural resources, energy, and environment sectors and receives provincial and federal funding. Prior to MIA, Winram was Conservative MP Rod Bernouge's chief of staff. Records show that Winram has supported Conservative candidates and has served on numerous boards and committees. He currently sits on Efficiency Manitoba's board and is chair of their Water and Wastewater Certification Advisory Committee. His term expires March 19th, 2027. It is unknown if he will resign or if the province will replace him. Through his positions, Winram has developed many long-term relationships with governments, post-secondary institutions, particularly the U of M, and we all know that the U of M is working to monitor their water, First Nations, and industry. And this is all much to the benefit of Sio Silica as they continue to push their critically flawed project. in our opinion. Now this, as we view the critically flawed project, has seen much apt public concerns and oversight. 2,273 public comments were disclosed on the registry. It took some complaints being filed until the 102 that went missing from the registry finally made it to the public. And it's concerning because many of the concerns in those 102 public comments, some of which came from the academics, were not contained in the approval branch's summary sent to Sio to address. We also noticed that the branch's summary of public comments either omitted or did not clearly address the concerns and/or questions submitted. The public, we have valid points of view and relevant concerns often missed by the province's experts. It's very troubling that not one provincial expert commented on the lack of assessment of Sio's slurry pipeline system, or the collapse, remediation, if possible, of the shale aquitard, of the collapse of the limestone from the overlying carbonate aquifer, of produced tailings in the mine cavity and at surface, potential acid-generating material, polyacrylamide, acrylamide, selenium, arsenic, uranium, a lack of noise and artificial light assessments, air quality. In fact, the air quality department did not respond. In quotes, no response. The aquifer intermixing, ground seal on the outside of the casing for sandstone and limestone isolation to isolate the two aquifers. Again, the public, you raised these issues and many, many more that were overlooked by the province's experts and inadequately captured in the EAB's summary of comments sent to Sio. There are other issues with the handling of the public comments, such as the lack of an identifier. And if you've never had an identifier to capture where you are, you can't oversee the review process, and you can't see if Sio addresses your concerns and questions properly. This does not foster trust, accountability, transparency, and meaningful participation. We are where we are in the provincial process right now. Sio has until September 30th, 2026 to address the public and the province's experts' comments. Typically, projects that have garnered a great deal of public concern, in this instance sustained public concern, and have far-reaching and significant impact on a large number of Manitobans, will generally be referred to the CEC. That decision is in the hands of the Environment Minister, the Honourable Mike Moyes. And we will continue. We'll be there. We'll oversee the process. We encourage you to follow us on our Facebook. We also have a website. We've provided material at the front, those little cards that you can pick up. And that has all the contact information. But you can also just input in your search engine, Our Line in the Sand, Manitoba. And we want to take this opportunity right now to, once again, we did on our Facebook, thank you for everybody who did submit public comments, and for the over 1,000 Manitobans who have signed that petition that we have available for you in print form at the back of the room. So thank you to those who've signed that, and that's on environmental reform and mining and reform. We need that. We need the reform of environment and mineral legislation, and that Sio's second application, let alone their first, was considered, illustrates the need for that. So thank you very, very much.
Hello folks, I'm over here now. Tangi has a wealth of knowledge. You will just have witnessed that. She always continues to blow me away. She has spent countless hours, days, weeks, months, and now years looking at legislation, reviewing scientific documents. The list goes on. She's incredible. She's an advocacy of our community. She deserves our deepest thanks, and thank you, Tangi. getting a little warm in here. I went and checked, and we have water still, and there's still donuts. So if anyone needs a little break there, that's good. We're going to move on to some questions here. That's why I moved over here. Whoever wants to ask a question can come up over here and come to the mic. We also have a fellow in the audience here. You can wave your hand, Daryl, back there. So Daryl, he's going to help us if we need help calling on for expertise. Daryl has origins in Springfield back to the 1880s on the historic Spear Farm, now home to Spear's Sunnyside Honey. He worked at the Manitoba Department of Mines in their mineral survey and diamond drilling program and served on the RM of Springfield Aggregate Task Force for 5 years. Daryl has extensive knowledge of our gravel pit bylaws and has been an active on Springfield issues with a focus on water protection. So he's here tonight to share his knowledge and assist in answering questions. Okay, who would like to ask a question? This looks like, oh, he's sitting there. No, you can come and ask whatever question you have. We're taking 4 to 5, and then we're moving on to the next topic. Just remember that. So we have room for one more.
Good evening. My name is Serge Bassad, and I've moved to Springfield 18 years ago.
Raise the mic.
I've moved to Springfield 18 years ago. I have put all my knowledge into engineering a grain silo into a house, which I live right up the road by the terminal. I do lots of research. I have drilled a well 290 feet deep. My well is salt water now. It's total salt water come up from my well, and I don't know where it comes from. And what I know, I put lots of money into it, and I'm in the process now of all learn of what's going on, and I'm selling my house and move from Manitoba. So I don't know who would like to drink salt water, or we'll have to make that new water treatment plant that they're spending all these millions and millions to build, so we can treat the water, so I can get clean water to drink now. Because I don't have clean water anymore after I spent $17,000 to drill the well. So I don't know where is this salt water come from. So, and yes, the question that I really want to ask is that they're doing all this project here. Will the province build that turnoff for all the trucks that going into that? Will they buy out all the easement from the people to build the trucks that go into the terminal? Like, you guys are councillor and you should know this, that.
Yeah, first off, thank you very much for your question. I don't want to kick the can down the aisle, but our provincial representatives aren't here. So Garvin Road, as you know, is a provincial road. And so we haven't heard anything on the municipal side about anything of that sort. We do know that P&H, of course, is close to you, and that may have disturbed the aquifer to some degree. But having said that, that's something that we should perhaps address with the province. Unfortunately, I don't want to pretend to have the answer for you, but the province needs to be notified about that for sure.
I think one of the issues that has developed is that when the P&H elevator complex came into play, they had to drive down piles. They were supposed to screw them in. And I think one of the aspects of that is it's disturbed the aquifer there. The aquifer has saline issues in it, actually east of Douglas. And so I think you may be impacted by that. That's one of the issues that is basically kind of hanging over our heads in that whole area as regards how do we get clean water and maintain clean water. RM had wells put on Southland Road, which is just south of you, as I remember. And they've now added a mile further south 3 more wells. And none of these wells meet drinking water standards. That's our issue.
Because when I first came there and they come and test my well, my water was clean, as clean could ever been. But now my water is dirty. And I have to buy water to drink, or I sell my property and I move somewhere else where I can enjoy the stars. Right? Nothing else I can do. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Heather Mitchell. One of the main questions that I've always had ever since we started all of this is of the Sio Silica individuals who would be responsible for the answer. I would like to know what, if anything, the Sio Silica people have responded when we asked the question, what is the compensation, what is the reparation for any of our properties out here which would be harmed if this went sour? Do you just take your ball and go home and leave us to live somewhere else? If that Sio Silica representative is here tonight, I'd like to hear your answer.
You know, I always believe in openness and transparency, and Jack, I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak on behalf of Sio Silica because you're the only one in this room perhaps that could give an answer to that. I know it's putting you on the spot, but people actually want to hear the other side of the coin and what an answer to such an important question is. So feel free, it's an open dialogue here.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to answer that question and address the crowd. A lot to unpack, some incorrect information that would love to address, and I want to answer your question as well.
Yeah, I'd like that.
So I'll start with answering your question. So the way that mining companies develop their programming and put forward their licenses, they have what's called a TARP, a Trigger Acquisition. Jeff would Trigger Action Response Plan. And so as part of that plan, we address all the risks there. It's a risk profile of what could possibly happen. And so we make sure that all of the risks are mitigated to the best possible we can, as well as we have to provide that for insurance purposes to make sure that our operation is insured for errors and omissions and general liability. And so we make sure that there's an opportunity to have that, as well as make sure that there's a fund that's available to compensate. But we're not approaching it that way.
I know you're not, but we need to.
Yes.
We live here.
And I live here too. And as it was mentioned that I was the CEO for the Manitoba Environmental Industries Association. And so as the CEO, we recognize that we're saying at all levels of government that we need critical minerals as an advantage for Manitoba and for Canada for our sovereignty. And this is one of the most underappreciated. And that's why, and development does affect water. And so the reality is that when we're moving forward with development, we have to make sure we protect the water. It is 100%
and if you cannot, and an accident happens, okay, I'm not concerned about all your exercises in hoping that it doesn't. I'm concerned about if it did, what happens to us?
There are many examples of economic development in oil and gas and mining in the past where water has been contaminated. And that's like first and foremost, we're setting up redundancies and risk management to make sure that doesn't happen.
I object to this. Yeah. I think Sio Silica should hold their own open house. Why are we giving you our time? This is our time. You guys had lots of opportunities to come and talk to our community, and you haven't. You've had open houses in the casinos in Winnipeg. Come here and organize your own, but don't take our time.
Yeah, well, I was off at the time, so
I would love to hear the answer, please, sir.
yeah, so yeah, we'll make sure that there's compensation if anything happens, but I don't have that number off the top of my head. Yeah, I do want to emphasize that there are lots of opportunities with technology to remediate the worst case scenario, but we're not going,
That's not a straight answer.
Well,
That's a motherhood answer.
I would like to stick with. Okay, if anybody wants to talk to me or ask a few questions, I mean, you gave me the opportunity to try to respond, and I was trying to, but if anyone wants to stick around and ask me the question, I'm going to be here. Come and talk to me. I'd like to address some of the misinformation about. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, first off, thanks, Jack. I forgot to tell you it's a tough crowd, so, you know, but no, it's good. We're looking out for residents and water. I've seen many examples. I travel internationally across the world. I've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of examples where mining operations, whether it be in the Congo, the Philippines, Bangladesh, or even Canada, that mining operations claim that they'll reconcile the land, safeguard it for future generations, and guess what? It's all on paper. They go bankrupt. They're partnered with, who is your partner? Is it not the Cayman Islands? No. It's not. The Cayman Islands? We were told. It is the Cayman Islands. So if I'm wrong, who is it? Who's the partner in the Cayman Islands? A Canadian company. So we get the spin. We get the spin. I am going to continue to fight against Sio Silica, hell or high water. And so is Ernie.
Thank you. Next time when somebody give you, sir, mic, answer the question. We don't have, time allowed for the speeches here and telling us whatever resident doing it's wrong or this and that. You create your own meetings and then you explain to us. I'm here 3.5 years as a councillor for this municipality, and I will support these people dearly and never gonna stop, not supporting them. So we're always here to listen to everybody, but if we want the direct answers.
We want the truth.
That's right, and the truth. So we appreciate your time here, but maybe you learn something and you take it back to Sio Silica that they can do it what people want. And that's right. And we have in this room our Premier, Webb Canoe, and Minister of Environment who reject the license to Sio Silica. And we're gonna remember that, and we're gonna make our government accountable for that. So because we wanna know if something gonna change, they have to explain to us and really make sure that we protect that if something happens. Not only our water, our prices for our houses, if we have to move away from here. We love dearly to live here. I live here for 35 years and a lot of residents in this community. That's why we care about our environment, and we care about our land, and we care about our lives. Thank you. But maybe you're on the other side, because our community voted 96.5% not to have Sio in our community. And that's what really people have spoken in our community, and we're supporting them. Thank you.
We're just going to ask for the 3 remaining questions to be quick, short questions, because we're on to the next part of it. Thank you.
Okay, question about something I saw in the video for the documentary there. Did I see that we do have evidence that collapsing has occurred in the aquifer from the test drilling? Did I see that right in that video?
Yes, that's correct. There is a shale layer between the sandstone formation and the carbonate formation. And with this process that they're proposing, it actually breaks that down, which is contrary to regulations. It's irreversible. You can't fix it.
So we have evidence that did occur in those test
It was
holes?
filed to the CEC hearing, that is correct, it's on the CEC website.
Okay.
You can take a look
So
at
that
it.
kind of worst case scenario has occurred already, just
Yes.
testing.
Yes.
Okay.
Good question. Good question.
Great question, thank you.
Hi, I'm Al Akins. I'm Richard Kuffler, and I do have a big concern about the Sio Silica thing. There is surface silica sand up north of Selkirk that they can mine if they want, but they don't want. They want to drill down and wreck our water and wreck our livelihood in this province. Now, from here to Fort Alec, if they drill, the water from here to Fort Alec will be contaminated. There's no doubt about it, that's the way it goes. So if they wreck all this water, anyone on the land, you're not going to be able to stay on the land, you won't be able to afford it. Who's going to buy that land? Sio Silica and our government officials that are out there supporting Sio Silica. That's who's going to buy our land. And why are they buying our land? Because from here to Fort Alec, our land is full of minerals. It's good, solid minerals that this province can mine. Sio Silica is in cahoots with the government officials to get our land and take our money and our land and get us off the land, because the water isn't going to be able to, nobody's going to be able to live on the land and drink that water. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Sandra Starr. Just a quick comment. In my experience, in terms of major projects, we never go into a major project without doing worst case scenario, because worst case scenario is the absolute worst, and we work backwards from that. Secondly, anyone who's ever dealt with insurance knows that it's going to be an absolute mess come the time you're going to pay my market value for my home, you're going to pay for my relocation, you're going to pay for whatever else, not to mention you'll never be able to replace the generations of people who have been on this land, because that's priceless. So you've taken away, worst case scenario, you've taken away many people's livelihoods, you've taken away their generational opportunity, and you've given them, maybe if they're lucky, market value for their homes. That's the reality of insurance for anyone who's ever gone through it. The one point I had about the presentation with regards to Sio Silica was, did the province give any timeline in terms of, you know, when we can expect answers from some of the information that you gave us?
September 26th.
September.
Sio Silica has that deadline to address all public comments and attack.
So the license is the application is on hold until September 26th, until they can prove or do whatever they need to do.
No, after they come back with those.
Tangi, come up.
Yeah, I'm just a little confused and wanted to get the process.
No, there's a deadline. They had the approvals branch gave them September 26th to address all the comments, both from province's experts as well as public comments. And then the branch will review that again, so it goes back into that. And the TAC has the ability to have follow-up questions for Sio Silica, so when that information comes back, there's this give and take back and forth. The public, however, does not have that opportunity for follow-up. And the public comments are, what we get from Sio Silica is what we get. And that's why we're asking for reform of the Environment Act. It's the only way out of this. Thank you.
So as a citizen of Springfield, what else can we do in terms of advocacy work other than signing a petition? What else is out there? Do you need more volunteers to get out there and go door to door? Do we have enough signatures? Do we need to do another round of this? You know, what do we need to do?
Everything you just said.
Okay.
Everything. Talk to your councillor, talk to your MLA, talk to, I know a Legacy is out there. He's removed himself from the provincial Conservative Party. Perhaps give him a call. Maybe he's more understanding now. Go get out there and be your democratic rights.
And I'll just add one thing, folks. October 28th is our municipal election.
Yeah.
We've got 3 people on council who've been pro Sio Silica and 2 that haven't. The 2 here are the ones that stay. The 3 that are currently in favor of Sio are gone. Yeah. That's how you make things.
Okay, we're on to our next two presenters. After that, we're gonna have we're gonna limit it to 4 questions only because clock's ticking. And then specific to the two topics. At the end, after Mark and Andy speak, we can stay here all night with your questions, okay? So our next presenter is Jill Overall. Jill and her family have lived in Springfield for 35 years. She and her husband Eric raised their 2 boys here. After 30 years, Jill retired from her job as a high school teacher. She's been active in the community throughout the years, from organizing hockey, schools, coaching, teaching the school curling program, served as an executive member at the Springfield Curling Club, and is currently the board chair of the Oaks North Condo. Jill has let her councillor Andy know that she has some deep concerns about the upcoming municipal projects that are planned and the tax implications that they will bring. Please help me in welcoming Jill Overall.
Okay, I've settled down a little bit. So I taught for over 30 years, and I can guarantee you I never raised my voice like that the entire time I taught. So that's a one-off. All right, my name is Jill Overall, and I've been a longtime resident in Springfield for 35 years. So we all know that life is good here in Springfield. With our country living, our close proximity to the city, the activities we offer both young and our older citizens, and up until now, our lower tax rates. That's why we all moved here, or we chose to stay here if we were lucky enough to grow up here. So our communities are growing, and with growth comes the need for more infrastructure, and new infrastructure means new developments. Currently, I believe that our council are planning too many big projects all at once, and it's skyrocketing our debt, and which in turn skyrockets our tax bills. At this moment, we are currently paying only $7 million in debt off. That's what we're taxed on. But these new projects that the mayor wants to go ahead with will put us at least $80 million in debt. I don't know about you, but I find that pretty scary. So that's more than 10 times the amount of debt. So apparently the new water and sewer system that the mayor wants to go forward with for new developments in Oakbank and Dugald would be the 3rd or 4th largest in the province. I Googled the list of towns in our province and in order of population, and I found that Oakbank is only the 15th largest town, and Dugald doesn't even register in the top 80. So we're gonna have the 3rd or 4th largest system. So what developments do we want? I think most people here are receptive to new growth in our area, encouraging our communities to grow with new people coming in, and encourage us to become prosperous, offering all kinds of opportunities. However, we are the ones who live here now. And so it's our community. So we should have a say in how it's developed, and that means we should also have some input in how our taxes are spent within the municipality. So I'm the first to tell you that I'm not an accountant, but I'm fairly intelligent, and I understand the importance of paying off my mortgage and my loans in a timely manner. So in Springfield, we have a number of new projects in the books that our mayor and council have decided that we absolutely need. So I'm thinking that the price tag on many of those projects is going to be backbreaking for some of our friends and our neighbors. So I'll explain my thinking. So 2/3 of our residents, both on rural properties as well as within our towns, we're all on wells. If you live on an acreage, you all have put in your own wells, your own septic fields, all the systems that go with it, and those are pricey. The municipality hasn't helped you out at all. They don't help us finance that kind of stuff. However, in the towns of Dugald and Oakbank, our mayor and a couple councillors, not these two, are planning on financing not only the $52.5 million sewage lagoon, but the $29 million water system, which they call DOWS, Dugald Oakbank Water System. They've secured some grants for the DOWS, but after we add other planned projects like a new aerial fire truck and phase 1 of our new rec center, we're looking at spending north of $80 million on projects. So in the new developments in Oakbank and Dugald, the normal practice is that developers will pay a good portion of the cost of installing the water lines to new homes, but that cost is paid to the RM only after each lot is sold. Once the lot sells, the developer will pay back a portion to the municipality, us, the taxpayers, to offset the cost of the water lines. But the big problem with the Dow system is it's being developed on such a huge scale to service 200 homes a year for 20 years. I did that math, and that's 4,000 new homes. Sorry. So 200 new homes, 20 years, 4,000 homes. So that number seems quite incredible because as of now, yearly sales of new building lots in our area have averaged less than about 50 new homes a year. And not only that, we still currently have approximately 400 service lots that sit vacant and are for sale, no buyers. So that means the taxpayer is expected to front the cost of a water system for 4,000 new homes immediately, with a realistic payback of only about 50 homes a year. So if we follow historic building patterns, I'm not even sure that number pays off the accrued interest that we're going to have. So now, as a non-accountant again, I'm feeling that the number of millings that our mayor is putting out there are extremely scary numbers. So I've attended all 3 community information meetings that the RM has offered this year. The first one was at the open house meeting in February, where residents could attend and ask questions about pretty much anything to the RM operations. Very quickly, the majority of questions that night focused on projects and the taxes attached to each of those projects. At one point in the night, when it was confirmed that yes, we will be over $80 million in debt to fund these projects, there was an audible gasp heard throughout the crowd. But then, the chief financial officer, his name is Amran, he then came to the mic to let us know that that was okay because he actually had the authority to take us up to $120 million in debt. So you could hear a pin drop, and then people started chatting to their neighbors. Let me remind you that we are currently only in debt less than $7 million. So even as a non-accountant, I totally understand the implications of this massive debt. I was hoping that at some point we might be able to build phase 2 of the rec center and get that indoor soccer pitch and the new arena. Or maybe we could think about other projects that would enhance our lives. If we get ourselves in $100 million of debt, we are going to be limited to new projects or even any new projects. And I know some of you are sitting there and you're gamblers and you're thinking, if we get those 4,000 new houses, we might have more people to add to our tax base. Yeah, but what if that gamble doesn't pay off? What if we only sell those 50 lots? We would be so far out on a limb if we pay for that. So that leaves us taxpayers paying off the loans for the new Dow system, Dougal Oak Bank water system, with development costs only being paid back to the taxpayer after the lot is sold. I would call that a huge gamble on the part of our council, putting that on our backs. We taxpayers are left to pay off the borrowing costs as well as the interest on these huge loans that the RM plans to borrow to cover that new water system. But if house builds stall, then we, the existing taxpayers, will be left to pay all those loans back as well as the interest with no guarantee from those developers. Seems like a risky gamble. I've been hearing from many people that they're not just angry about the current increase in taxes this past year, but some are worried that they won't be able to keep up in the future. So we've already established that I'm not an accountant, but I do know that the longer you amortize your loans, the more interest you're going to be paying, and we are set to pay those loans off for 20 years. No matter how the mayor and the CFO spin these numbers, they are inescapably huge. My lifetime will be spent paying for these loans, and I'll have a lot less expendable cash after I pay my taxes. So I would sure like to slow down our spending and look at downsizing the Dow system. The plan has been looked at by at least 3 independent engineers who do say that it's the 3rd or 4th largest system. Maybe we don't need to set up to service 4,000 new homes all at once, And then maybe we could afford to build phase 2 of the rec center, have money for other new projects. I would also like the mayor and councillors to be more careful with my hard-earned tax dollars. A good example of careful spending would be the money that we're paying out to lawyers for frivolous court cases. So not only the one that we had last year, or last week, with the 4 residents who were fighting to have recorded meetings, but another good example is the money we're paying out. The first time we spent money on unnecessary court costs was when the mayor decided that Councillors Miller and Kuczynski should not hold town hall meetings without his permission. So we taxpayers actually spent $25,000 so that the mayor could send that message. And last week, I'm sure you read in the paper, the court case of our council versus the 4 residents who took a stand on videotaping. The 4 citizens case was taken up by the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms at no cost. The same justice organization has recently represented another municipality in Canada successfully. So precedent has been set, but incredibly, our mayor is pushing forward with this case as well, wasting thousands of dollars, possibly up to $100,000 in lawyer costs.
No kidding.
Almost done. Another big expense that we are going to be incurring is a new aerial ladder truck for our fire department. Our current fire trucks can fight fires that are 3 stories high, but 3 stories doesn't fit in with the high-density neighborhood that WMR, the Winnipeg Metro Region, were pushing us towards. And if you remember, we just got out of the WMR. 4 of our councillors voted against it, but our mayor wanted to still be in it. He wanted to stay in. So even though we finally did withdraw from WMR, I believe we were starting to plan for that high-density living. I mean, really, we live in an area where land is plenty. Why would we start building upwards when we could just build outwards? So we started building upwards for things like the new assisted living building. That decision will cost us $3.5 million for a new fire truck that can reach more than 3 floors. And fun fact, we will be only the 2nd municipality in Manitoba that will have an aerial fire truck. So I'd like to encourage our mayor and council to rethink this massive spending and this huge tax load. How about leaving some of these decisions to a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of councillors after this fall's election, which is only 5 months from now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Our next presenter is Margaret Marion-Akins. Margaret has been a longtime resident of Springfield. She and her husband Alan raised 3 children here, and today Margaret's family proudly includes 4 generations living in Springfield. Over the years, Margaret has been a strong supporter of the community, including playing an instrumental role in the efforts opposing the Sio Silica project. As a longtime owner of High Qual Manufacturing, Margaret brings extensive corporate and financial experience and helped grow the company into a successful international business. Please join me in welcoming Margaret Marion-Akins.
Good evening, everyone. And first of all, I want to thank Andy and Mark for having this open house. Sorry. Okay, want to thank Andy and Mark for having this wonderful open house, and it is so wonderful to see all you people out tonight. It's, you know, especially when it's so lovely outside. Anyways, I want to start with something that I believe we all understand, and my topic is stewardship and how that relates to us. A steward of taxpayers' dollars is someone entrusted to manage public funds responsibly, fiscally, and ethically. A good steward means treating taxpayers' money with the same care you treat your own, and ensuring that the public money is used for good and not waste. That's the standard. That's what we expect from our municipal council. And really, that's what this meeting is all about, because this conversation is not just about projects or growth or even taxes. It's about trust. Who is making the right decisions on our behalf, or whether those decisions reflect the kind of care and responsibility we expect. But first of all, let's remember who we are. We're Springfielders, and Springfield has always been a rural municipality at its core. On the average, 70+% of residents live on acreage, farms, or ranches. Springfield was the first RM to incorporate back in 1873. We are 450 square miles of massive land, and 70% of it is open country. We also, fun fact, have 500 miles of gravel roads. Now, we chose this way of life. We've invested in our infrastructure, our wells, our septic fields, and maintain our own properties. We accept few services from the RM, and because of that balance, we pay less taxes. In return, we built a strong community. A community where neighbors know each other, where people step up when it matters, and where families have deep generational roots. Myself, as Carolyn said, I have 4 generations of my family currently living here. Now I know, Georgina, you beat me 5, but now let's talk about what's changing. We are seeing a level of spending and rapid expansion of small lot, high-density construction that is unprecedented in our history. Major infrastructure, roads, growing services, and the projected increase, as Jill mentioned, in the debt of our $7 million deficit to over $80 million. This is unbelievable. In the 150 years, our municipality, we have never had this kind of debt burden. This debt burden will not only affect us, but generations to come. And here's why that matters. In the rural municipality, it's all about balance between rural and urban. That's generally 70% rural, 30% urban. This balance is there for a reason. Rural residents have historically asked for less and therefore pay less property taxes because they require less services than the towns, than Oakbank, than Dugald, and then Anola. But when this balance starts to shift and we become 50% rural and 50% urban, the cost structure changes. And those costs don't disappear, they shift onto us, the taxpayer. The Canadian Federation of Municipalities estimate that for every dollar we spend, it costs $1.28 to maintain and service those residents. That 28% is paid by rural residents, which is a large part of our annual property taxes. And this is in addition to what we will be paying on the $80 million of debt that our present council, except for our 2 gentlemen here, plan to put us into. We are already seeing the signs of pressure, higher property taxes, more strain on households, and people quietly struggling to keep ends meeting, especially seniors, people on fixed incomes, and working families trying to manage raising costs. Now let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. If we continue down this path of rapid small development and we continue shifting away from the balance of 70% rural and 30% urban, consequences will become quite clear. There will be more financial burden and pressure put on residents, more dependence on support systems for the seniors, fixed income, and growing families to make their ends meet. And over time, it will become harder and harder for our families, our friends, and our neighbors to be able to live, to afford to live in this municipality. Now, let me be clear, this is not about stopping growth. It's about managing it. Springfield has a development plan bylaw which lays out growth in a measured, reasonable, and sustainable manner. The mayor and some councillors have ignored this bylaw. And now it's time to get back to basics and follow the development plan. Growth is good, and especially in the rural area. Why? Because rural residents pay for their own infrastructure. So growth needs to have a greater focus in our rural area. Because growth without balance, without affordability, comes at a cost. And the cost is being felt by people who live here right now. So we have to ask, are we growing in a way that is sustainable? Are we maintaining tax fairness between rural and urban needs? Are we making decisions that people can actually afford to live with? Because at the end of the day, this comes back to stewardship. Again, a steward of taxpayer dollars is entrusted to manage public funds responsibly, fiscally, and ethically, to treat the money in the same way you would treat your own, to ensure that it is put to good public use, to speak with and approve with the residents a comprehensive plan that is sustainable and reasonable property tax requirements. That's what the standard should be, and I don't think it's too much to ask for, because this is just not about budgets and poor planning. It's about, like I said, trust, it's about fairness, and it's about whether the people who built this municipality will be able to continue to afford to live in one of the best communities in Manitoba. Because stewardship matters, to us it is everything. And the people who built this community should never be priced out of it. So let's move forward. Together we can make a difference. But let's do it with balance, with care, communication, and trust, and with the responsibility of good governance that this community deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Okay, we're going to have 4 questions relating to the questions that, topics that Jill and Margaret spoke about over there at the mic. Anyone?
No.
Hello. have a question to each of our councillors here, Mark and Andy. With respect to stewardship that Margaret has spoke to us about, could you please tell us a little bit about the importance of that while we live in a close proximity to a large city where our value of our property is relevant by location and also just the quality of our land and the quality of our community we live in? Just wondering if you could provide some insight after already serving the public, how important the stewardship is.
Well, thank you for questions. We should be responsible with our money. It's public money. It's not our own money as a councillors or mayor. We always have to be responsible to our residents. We don't want to end up like municipality of Broken Head that was said in a clipper in January 8. Broken Head forced to cancel project as 30% of ratepayers don't pay their taxes. How the community can end up like this? Because somebody mismanaged their money. They want to spend money a lot faster than they can bring them in. And that's never gonna work. And you know, like, we can even see the example of our city of Winnipeg, the development, what happened in the last 10 years, it's atrocious. And yet they're still short of money. So the development is good in area as long as it's controlled. But runaway development is never gonna be good for anybody. And we don't wanna pay the price. We love this community and we want to protect our community so we have this community for the long time to come and for our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. I just want to make it plain and clear as kind of what was said. Andy and I are 2 against 3 usually, so anything we do is kind of in the back, thrown to the wall. Andy and I voted against this last budget about 3 weeks ago because we believe that it was overtaxing the residents of our community. Now, being on council for 3.5 years, I've seen such atrocious waste, it would make you sick to your stomach. From council retreats outside our municipality, in other words, not supporting our local enterprises, but going out to the White Shell to spend money in the White Shell for frivolous things, overnights, catering, everything else, to trees. So in front of the municipality, the office there's one tree that's worth $3,000. And I said to the CEO, are you kidding me? Deanne and I just did a whole whack of pine trees, and we paid $200 for a similar type of tree. So government tends to spend your money like it's going out of style. I'm tired of that kind of nonsense. It's atrocious, it's wrong, and Andy and I will continue to fight. One other thing, I know this is nickel and dime, but Andy and I commute to meetings. We share the costs for going to wherever it might be. It might be Selkirk, tomorrow happens to be Selkirk. I know it's nickel and dime, but we're the cheapest on council because we don't go to all the golf tournaments that you pay for some of these other people, councillors, to go to. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Are you going to run for mayor?
I'll answer that question. My question is, my wife won't let me. So no. Trust and honesty. I'll call a spade a spade. It's not the time, there's probably very good candidates for mayor. I have one vote on council as a councillor or a mayor, so I can still advocate for fiscal prudence, environmental responsibility and protection, and a whole host of other things. I don't want to campaign here, because you know if the mayor was here, he'd say, Mark, you're campaigning. So I won't, but anyway.
Thank you to both of you.
Only questions. You're already shutting me down before I can even speak. Okay. I guess I do have a couple questions and just a couple comments, and for everybody that doesn't know who I am, I'm Adam Rossell. I'm a representative of REI Landco. We have our 117-acre mixed-use subdivision just happening in Duval there. With that being said, I do have a few questions regarding, I guess, just this mailer and this flyer. Were you guys aware that this was going out prior to the meeting or anything along those lines? Your names are all over it and your faces as well. So
Yeah, I'm not a member of the Springfield Taxpayer Rights Corporation.
Okay.
So they do stuff independently, just like any organization can.
Yeah.
So you would have to talk to the representatives who represent that organization.
Okay.
But we were made aware because I believe, if I remember right, they asked our permission if they could use our faces and things like that.
For sure, yeah. No, that's appreciated. And are you aware that your faces and names, contact information are, I guess, technically related to some misinformation that's actually out there and on this pamphlet itself?
Did you
That
state
was my question.
misinformation?
There's some misinformation on here, yes.
And who create the misinformation?
That's a great question.
Or do you have proof to it that it's misinformation?
Well, I mean, for instance, there's
You stating now, you cannot
okay,
say
no,
that somebody
and
else.
Andy, if I can
We want the
please-
answer
if
from
I can
you.
please speak, I would love to speak because it's an open forum. I'm a taxpayer in this community as well, right? So I think we all have that opportunity to speak on an open forum. And I think that we can all agree I've always been very respectful. Okay, for instance, there are. For instance, there is in this pamphlet, people are stating that there are unallocated and no REUs left over for development for future expansion projects. That is a blatant misinformation.
Can you read that in that literature?
You know what, it's 4 pages, there's a lot of information on here.
Glasses on and read it. Read it? Well, we'll wait. Read it.
Okay, if I may.
So hang on, we'll just step back a bit. So, you can find where you're stating that, because you can't just state it and then keep on going. Okay, we're gonna go on, so you can find that and then we'll come back up. Okay. This will be our last question.
And I just want to clarify things too. When everybody, all the speakers are done, because the speakers are all here on the schedule, when the speakers are done, the mics are open for the rest of the night, so people can ask whatever questions they want or appreciate, so, thank you.
In regards to taxes and good stewardship and all of that, I'm wondering how we maintain control over that if the Winnipeg Metropolitan Regional Plan goes through. Because I don't see how we can have transparency. Are there numbers, is there a plan in place that where we would be able to find that information out?
Maybe I answered that question. So there was Plan 2050 first of all, and we wasn't privy, me and Mark, or council, to that information because I guess the mayor was muzzled by the board of WMR, so they couldn't speak on that issue. So we didn't know, for a long time we didn't know what's in it. We was asking a lot of questions to our mayor, please explain to us what benefits we're gonna get from this Plan 2050. So they have one meeting done in Polo Park in the city of Winnipeg in the hotel, and people was really upset. Majority of people was from city of Winnipeg who attended that meeting, and they didn't like it. So they, under the pressure from residents and people from metropolitan region, they released that document. But it was no meat of potatoes. There was like just procedures and what have to be done. And I think it was structure for the developers more than for the regular people. So people opposed that. So after that meeting ended up in fiasco, they said, okay, we're gonna have another meeting because the people have a lot of questions and there was no answer because board of WMR could not answer the questions as people was asking them. They would muzzle, they said they cannot talk, so they would, I just feel sorry for 20 people who were sitting there with their heads down because, you know, whatever people were saying wasn't that pretty for them. So they create another meeting and happened in Niverville. And maybe they didn't expect it. The venue was way too small. They have room for maybe 250 people, 1,000 people show up to Niverville. And the people, they wouldn't let people in because of the, you know, the restriction of the fire code to that thing. So people start shouting out, you know, let us in or cancel this meeting. So on the end, they canceled the meeting. And what happened with that, they canceled Plan 2050. So this plan is no longer in existence. So now what happened, I think a month ago, the chair retired from his position from WMR, and director of the resigned too. So we don't have nobody there. So now WMR elected new officials, and the new officials are representative from the municipalities that's still in it. Now, when Plan 2050 was done, 10 municipalities opted out. So now they have 8 municipalities only. And chair of this WMR is mayor of Niverville, and vice chair is deputy mayor of municipality of Richelieu. So now they're working on the procedure again. They have meetings that last only because they on the YouTube. The meeting lasts like 5 minutes, and after that, and they don't say nothing. They talk about procedures and electing new board, and they go into camera for maybe 45 minutes. And coming from Canada, they're just saying, okay, this meeting is adjourned. So residents still don't know what's happening. And I don't know, they're supposed to come up with a plan by January 1st, 2027. And municipality opting out from this thing because election gonna happen. And if you don't opt out before the election, then you have to be in a WMR for the next 8 years, and you have to pay for it. We as a municipality paying like $17,000 or $18,000 a year, and this thing happening like that's WMR exists from 2018. So we spent lots of money on that project, and we don't have not one thing showing that, you know, what's going to happen to our community, it's going to help us or not. Now, another thing I want to say that we as a municipality of 17,000 people, we pay to the WMR $17,000 for it. But city of Winnipeg, who have veto and can they veto override the other municipality, paying only $33,000. How is this possible? So city of Winnipeg paying 4.5 cents to residents to belong to WMR, and we paying all our like $1.25 our community. Yeah. And we don't have veto over city of Winnipeg. So that's why people rejecting this whole project. So I don't think so. Probably I just heard on the people were saying that maybe another community gonna opt out. It's this town of Stonewall. So it's gonna be 7 left of them. And I hope they're not gonna make decision on behalf of all the municipality who belongs in that group previously. But we're not out from the WMR yet because we opted out. We sent a letter to the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and we didn't receive the note from him that he agreed with our decision. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the questions. A couple of things. Just a reminder that there's Springfield Taxpayers' Rights. If you want to get our updated emails, you can give your updated newsletters. There's a sign-in sheet at the back. Anyone who's interested in volunteering for the upcoming October election, either prior to election or on election day, come see me, Mark or Andy after, or Alan, any of these people here. And there's also donations. So to rent the hall, to set up signs, all cost money. Any donations are appreciated. I'm going to flip it over to Mark and Andy after that as questions. from the public.
We're just arm wrestling, who's gonna start on this one? So we've got an interesting proposition for residents and for voters, and I like it. I'm a graduate of political science, so I like to ensure that the residents have control, not only at the ballot box, but between elections. And this is something that would have had an integral difference in our community these last 3 years. For instance, when Andy and I campaigned last election, I didn't know him from a hole in the ground. The first opportunity to meet him was basically election night. So I didn't know what I was getting into. And I actually believed some of the politicians who were going around door to door saying they were against Sio Silica, fiscal management, and on it went. Then we realized very quickly that when Andy and I voted against the development agreement for Sio Silica, that 3 other people weren't on the same page as us. But yet, I think, Andy, I don't think you have it here today, and I don't want to lambaste people, but you have to put some trust in a politician when they say things to you and present it in literature at your door, because that'll yield a vote, potentially. For instance, if I said door to door that I was against Sio Silica, and then I voted for it, you should lynch me, literally. You know, that didn't happen here. So we want to introduce something that is not a milestone, but something that's used in other jurisdictions. And we will do a lot of research on this, but it's called recall legislation between elections. So if a politician misleads you, quite frankly lies, then you ought to have the right to hold them accountable through either, petitions, a significant amount of nominations, signatures would be required to remove that person. Now, this is in place, as you know, in Alberta. They're struggling with it a little bit because it's new and they don't know how best to implement it. But if we can take that model and either commit to it and or have some other model modify it to Springfield's needs, then maybe we can make this work. But what I'm telling you is that, Andy, and you're going to speak too, I am committed, absolutely, and Deanne, my wife knows I'm running in the next election, that if I lie, present something wrongful in my literature, and I vote opposite of what I committed to at the door and in the literature, you ought to kick me in the butt and get me out of here. And you have the right to do it between elections, not just 4 years down the path where you can make a lot of damage. Let me tell you, if this is true, we're $7 million in debt and that spikes to 60, 50, $80 million, that's on your backs. Andy and I voted against those things. In social media, they say, Andy and Mark, they're always against stuff. They're always against stuff. That's not entirely true. We're against frivolous spending. We're against reckless expenditures putting us in debt for generations to come. We believe in growth, absolutely. Adam Rossell, you're a developer. You know how important growth is. You want to develop Dougal to potentially almost double the size in combination with the other developers. Maybe that's not a bad thing, but you ought to take on your share of the infrastructure costs. It shouldn't be the ratepayers here who do that. Absolutely. I believe in open dialogue. I know, Jill, you might get, well, no, I won't say it, but Adam, please respond to that. But give us truth, honesty, and integrity. Like, you like the exact same. What did I misrepresent?
He has to pay. Yeah, he has to pay for his part.
All right.
Look, I don't want to get into a back and forth or anything along those lines. I would like to just have a mature, open conversation. Just on my previous point, quickly, because I was asked to do it, on the very first page, right here, it does say, and I quote, sufficient water capacity exists, text, REUs remain unallocated. Case in point. Okay. That is,
400 REUs.
Where's your question? What's your question?
from one developer to another.
Okay, well, I'll answer it.
Okay.
Okay, so my
If
name's Alan Akins, and I'm part of the creator of that literature. In my past life, I was with High Qual Manufacturing, but I was also a developer. And our last development was in RM Taché, which was 1,352 residences. And we paid for all our off-site services that were not covered by government grants. Those RAUs were developed by, or proofed by 6 other individuals that are more capable than I am at qualifying where they are, because they're all over Dugald and Oakbank. So that's who qualified it.
So as why I came back up here to answer. So specifically looking at our project in Dugald, it's roughly 116 acres. It's divided into 15 acres of commercial space, duplexes, some affordability options, including some rental space as well as condos. Now, out of the 116 acres, I agree, everyone needs to pay their fair share. I was leading to that, please. I will. So my answer to that, because I was asked to answer, not question, is that we have roughly speaking about a $25 million infrastructure budget, okay? So as RDI Landco, we have to front the $25 million in order to put the pipes in the ground, in order to put the fiber optics, the street signs, the sod, etc. We have to hold on to that for a 2-year warranty period, okay? So in that 2-year warranty period, if something was wrong, we as developers have to pay for it.
Right.
Once it passes that 2-year warranty period, that $25 million worth of infrastructure, which is an asset to the community, an asset to the RM, an asset to the tax base, we then have to donate that to the RM. Alongside our 20 acres of open and green space, so that's almost 20% of our entire land mass. So to answer your question, we also have to come up with an additional $20,000, round numbers, $20,000 as a levy fee on a per door basis. So it's not just donating the $25 million worth of infrastructure, it's also coming up with $20,000 on a per door basis.
Once you sell the lots.
You know what, I don't exactly know that right this second, but regardless, okay, hold on, please. Regardless, it changes on by municipality. So, I wasn't asking you the question, I was asked to rebuttal the conversation, okay? So now I'm... Okay.
There's a disagreement. Do you want to hold a public meeting?
We've held 3 public meetings regarding our development.
Good, your development, but not the cost to the taxpayer.
Right.
And
Why would I get into a business deal where it's gonna cost me more money than I can make? You didn't get into it to lose money, you got into it to make money.
That's exactly right.
It's like the ratepayers here.
Well, there's 2 discrepancies here, Richard, and that is what Russells are telling you is what happens within the boundaries, the lot lines of their property. And it's the same for any developer in Manitoba, anywhere in Manitoba. That's the standard. But it's all the plumbing coming to it is being paid by the municipality. And that's us. And that doesn't happen in every other municipality. And in Taché, as I said, we paid for every off-site cost that was not from funds available from grants from the province. And that's the way it should be. We should not be paying for services that is developer-driven. That's it.
It's okay to invest in Taché, but not into Springfield.
Well, I'm retired. Well, I've also had open heart surgery and cancer. So what's your point? So when you develop property, it's where you have it. I own the golf course with my wife in Lorette, and there was the opportunity to create development there in Lorette, and we did that until I had to retire out because of health.
Well, and we're trying to build affordable housing that is needed in this municipality.
Affordable housing is another word for high density. We're not paying for your off-site services to the tune of 70 or 80 million bucks.
We're not here to argue.
Thank you.
Thanks for your input. Okay, we have some text message questions. Oh, no, you guys aren't done. Yeah. Are you done? Andy?
Thank you, yeah. Talking about recall. I will agree everything that Mark said to the residents here, and I will add to it that I don't think so I need recall. If I will break your trust, I will resign myself. Why should I be on a council when I don't represent you? Everybody should have the same principle. Because if you break the trust once to people, you never regain it. Nobody gonna trust you anymore. And that's the main reason that the recall, it's okay, but you know, as community decided, we're gonna go back to community and we're gonna ask you, you know, write petitions, maybe have a referendum on it. And if community agree to it, then we're gonna go to AMM and we're gonna present it to make the resolution. I don't know if it's gonna pass, and then from a resolution from AMM, that Association of Municipalities have to go to province, and maybe province have to approve it, so if it's gonna happen. So that's gonna be very lengthy process, but what we should do, we should elect the right people who can be trusted. Whatever they promise to you, they keep the, you know, they promise to people. And don't spend the money. And I'm gonna tell you what's happening. Those two projects, like the water treatment plant.
Take this mic. Can you use this one?
It's dying now.
Use this microphone.
I thought I heard properly. Those two projects that we had in water treatment plant or rec center. So those two projects gonna cost.
Here, Ann.
So these two projects gonna cost us $52 million. So we received from province 19 million in grants, so there is left $33 million. So now from this 33 million, we're gonna be borrowing $19 million for those two projects. So we have 40 million left, 40 million that was drawn from the taxpayers. Now if somebody went to the municipality and received this financial plan from presentation, and that was done April 15, 2026, and here state how we been taxed. So we have in 2023 we have reassessment year, and 2025 we have reassessment year. So in 2023, our taxes went up 17.7% in our community. That's a lot, huge amount of money. In 2025, our assessment and taxes went up 18.9%. So that's 35% more in taxes our community is paying to the municipality. Municipality have nothing to do with the assessment, that province directing that. But we controlling the mill rate. And we can set the taxes for our community in the mill rate. But our municipality have those two projects on the go, and they don't want to deviate from it. So what they did, they pull our reserves, what we have, and put on those two projects as a down payment. And those down payments was from taxpayers. So now to recoup this money, because they need money in the reserves, because if something happen, emergency, they have to have money there. So they tax you and they put money back to the reserves. And that's what happened. But we're still paying for those two projects. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna pay $19 million we're gonna borrow for 20 years, plus we're gonna pay interest on it. And that's not include the expansion of our lagoon, which one right now it's on the books today money, $52 million. We don't have any grants for it. So all these projects that even developers want, they want to build. If we don't have lagoon, because water coming in, waste have to go out. So if we don't have those projects on the go, everything gonna stall, just like stalling in East St. Paul. They can have no more development because they don't have waste treatment plant. And probably they said probably gonna happen for another 7 years by the time they can come up with the new waste treatment plant. So you know that it's the planning and taxation, like very difficult things, but we cannot tax people to the max because somebody wants building houses in our community. Development, it's okay. Whoever built in a rural area, you just get the permit from the municipality and you build everything on your own. Your septic field, your water well, you have all the services on your own. You probably just, municipality come and clean the snow for you and cut probably ditches, once a year. And that's what we have. And we're not saying that we don't want to contribute, like they said, oh, we're going to have a water treatment plant, we're going to help the schools, hospitals, and kin places, like, senior citizen places. We as a human beings, we want to help each other. But we don't want to, like being taxed in such a large amount that we're never going to get benefits from it if we live on the country. We're never going to recover, and taxes going to go up. And we know that the inflation is happening and taxes going to go up. But I see, okay, 1.5%, 2%, if it's going. Because whatever we're going to get the money from taxation, we pay from 23 and 24, we're going to pay taxes on top of that. That's never going to come down unless the new council comes and going to change those mill rates that's happening in our community, because some other municipality have like 6% mill rate. Ours is almost 10%. So we paying price for everything that we want. Do we really need or we really want?
Right.
And community have to decide on those issues. And don't forget another thing. Next assessment is next year. Reassessment. So, and our school taxes this year is going up. We're paying only 2% increase our taxes for this year, and then for our school tax is going to be 7.3%.
42% increase.
That's correct. Yeah. So we paying as a community for development, and we don't have to forget about one thing. We have aging infrastructure in Dougal, and that infrastructure have to be replaced. Our roads wasn't meant. I don't know to what standard they would build, but that infrastructure have to be repaired. We have to keep fixing all these roads in community on Oakville and Dougal too. So we're going to be on the hook. So the decision in the future have to be very difficult to done. But we still want to live. We love this community, and we have to help each other. But with the limits, we cannot spend money to that what we're going to go bankrupt, because that's not helping anybody. Thank you.
We've got a couple of text message questions. Has anyone thought of the seniors who are being taxed out of their homes as they live on their pensions to make ends meet?
And where are they gonna move to?
Can't afford it there.
How many times do I have to pay for the water system? I pay for my
Well, again, that was one of the reasons Andy and I voted against the budget, because we believe any increase is too much. You know, all of us, every dollar, we have to make it stretch as far as we can, but there's better decisions that can be made by council, and I hope the new council, whoever that is, will make better decisions, some better decisions for sure. In terms of affordability, that's a term that gets me mad. As you know, former Prime Minister Trudeau used that a lot, affordability. What's affordable to you, Carolyn, is different than what's affordable to Andy and I and everybody in this room. So it's based on income, and there's a formula to it, but affordability is just one of those buzz terms politically that sounds so good. It's affordable. You know, the new seniors residence in Dugald, the rate for a suite there ranges from somewhere around $1,500 to just over $3,200. So is that affordable to you? I'm not sure. It's expensive. I know our mortgage is not even that amount, but we need to make affordable homes, absolutely. But I don't know that anybody really has the answer. I don't want to spend too much time on this.
Well, Mark, if you build 50 houses a year, you're limiting supply. You limit supply, the price stays up. The only way the price comes down is if you put more product on the market, competitively. And build the housing options that people can afford. 98% of the houses in this municipality are single detached homes. The average price is well over $500,000. Who as a first-time home buyer can afford that?
Yeah, Mr. Russell, I'm not against your development. What I'm saying is, if you can make affordable homes, all the power to you, but make them affordable. Make them $150,000, $200,000. Can you commit to any homes in your?
Let's be realistic. If we knew what the cost of development really is, and if we had the infrastructure to back it up, without infrastructure, you can't do nothing. Infrastructure is an asset.
Great, then can I send you my bill when my septic field goes? Can I do that?
Where are the kids from these developments going to go to school?
Exactly.
All our schools are overpacked. They just built in Dougal, and it's small.
Well, as a
And I've
matter of
lived
fact,
out
we
here
went to
longer
the
than
school
you
board
have.
3 years ago, and we told them what our development is all about, and they expected what the population growth was, and they've got that built into their budget.
Well, it's difficult, Mr. Russell, it's difficult. I know as a developer, you're in the best interest of your corporation, and that makes sense. As somebody said, you're in it to make money, and that's fair ball. We're, you know, it's a democracy. You can make money. But we'll just go to the next. We can talk at any time. You're going to stay to think a bit, and we can talk more. But I just want to get on with the questions.
Thank you. Another text message question. I heard a lot of numbers on the water treatment plant and lagoon. Is there not large federal and provincial grant funds allocated to these projects to offset these costs?
It's not in the information package.
Well, we're getting grants from our province. We didn't get any money from the federal government. There is probably political reason for that. So what is our community about, and what the government is in the federal, our government, so, yeah.
What have
So
you
it's,
specifically done to get grant money for this municipality?
and who's getting the grant?
Well, that's what I'm asking. What have you done to get grant money for this municipality?
Well, I'm just telling you what grants we get. We can apply, and if we receive them, we use them. If we don't receive them, we have to progress, or we have to do without
Have you
them.
applied for the lagoon? What have you done to get us money? Canada wants to be built strong.
Oh, come on, cut it out.
There's all sorts of
Where the hell does the grant money come from? From everybody here. Everybody pays. Oh, it's free. It's grant money. We get it for nothing. We don't pay. For Christ's sake.
Or throw out.
Okay. Here's a question, and then I'll move on to the speaker, the people in line here. If tax stewardship is a question, what happened to our police force? If we can't even support a police force, why are we entertaining the idea of going into massive debt building a treatment plant? Springfield is the largest RM in Manitoba. We already have a serious issue of enforcement on any level in this municipality. Do you think the RCMP can absorb the load of our RM with their shortage of personnel already. What is the RM doing to address this deficiency in actively keeping our RM safe?
Thank you for your question, and I'm going to be really quick on this. So the police force, the Springfield Police Force costs us between $600,000 and $700,000 per year to run, with about 3 officers, maybe 4. Right now we have community safety officers, which are about half that or a little bit less. But next week is an RM-sponsored event. I think it's on Wednesday. You look at the website, and it's going to be held, I think, is it Andy and Dougal as well? So we want, as councillors, and the mayor and others who are going to attend, want your input on what we should do with this. So no firm decision has been made in terms of the RCMP or Springfield Police Force and Community Policing. We want the input. Andy and I stressed this to the other members of council, that we need to have the input of the community before making a decision. So thank goodness they listened and are going to do that. What I can tell you is the RCMP say, no, they can't just take over the load of those 3 or 4 officers. They're stretched throughout the country. As you know, Prime Minister Carney just said that he's going to add, what, is it 100 officers across Canada? Well, that's not that many. Maybe it's more, but... 1,000. Okay, 1,000. But if you do what Toronto needs, Montreal, Vancouver, and so forth, that might mean 1 person for our community. But having said that, come to the meeting next week and express your opinions, because the decision of council, whether it be this one or next one, will really be based on what your input is.
Okay, one more of the text here. If the budget is being approved, can we reverse the commitment on the sewer plant and or water plant?
Good question again. In terms of any political decisions that are made, yes, a new council, if there's enough votes, can reverse or have influence on how that goes forward. In other words, the Dow system, we could revisit that and look if we can downsize it and make it work. Mr. Rossell, don't be worried. Don't be worried. We know we need more water in this community, but we may not need it to the extent that has been approved by this council to this degree. So we're not trying to stymie your growth. We're just trying to say, let's be more reasonable, and the ratepayers of our community can only afford a certain amount. So yes, any decision can be reversed, and there is some potential cost liability to it, but that's again for the next council to make those very tough decisions. Because again, it's 3-2. We can't change anything.
Mark, what happens when Sio takes out the water?
There'll be no growth at all.
Well, again, I don't want to tell you how to vote, but I'll be voting against Sio. I'm sorry, Jack. I respect you living here, and I know you're paid by Sio, I suspect, to advocate for them, so you're doing your job. You can't knock him for doing his job, being paid by Sio to do his job. He's going to be a salesman and a diplomat, but I'm a politician, and I have to listen to my voters. Voters in Ward 3 have 90% or greater said, Miller, if we vote for you, you better stand up against this mega company, and I will continue to do that, and I know Andy will too. So.
Jerry Parent, and I'm not running for politics. I'm just wondering if Silica Sand people that are involved really took a look or are looking at what's been happening with the fracking in the US. It's becoming a real big problem because they were filling the holes up with water, and now those holes are either falling in or they're getting water spouts. The land is just becoming a real mess down there. All kinds of lawsuits, and I don't think anything's happening, but it's destroying the land where the fracking's been taking place. So maybe that's worthwhile, you people taking a look at it.
Good question. We have concerns with fracking. I'm going to give you an opportunity, absolutely, to respond. Just give them a little bit of a leeway. I mean, if you can be short, quick, and to the point.
Just going to introduce Jeff Reed, our geologist. He can answer that question.
Yeah, Jeff here. A lot of confusion, I think, with fracking.
I think originally that we were kind of associated with fracking because there's an association between frac sand, which is silica sand, and fracking. The sand in this deposit, to speak to the silica sand, it's unconsolidated. You can pretty much put your hand in it and it falls through your hands. We're not doing any fracking because you never need to frack this sand. It's a loose sand. No fracking is being done in Manitoba.
I just have a few observations, and I've lived in Springfield since 1988. I loved Oak Bank, and so when my husband and I separated, I came out here with my two little boys who were 2 and 3 at the time. They're 41 and 42 now, or sorry, 40 and 41 now. So I loved Springfield because I remember the first time I came out here with my ex-husband. He was a Winnipeg Blue Bomber, and they used to come out to play hockey, old timers hockey, and we'd go to the Oak Bank Arena, and we passed, I think it was a Heidelberg beer place on Garden Road. Was it Heidelberg? Yeah. Okay. And so I thought, wow, that's something, because what the people that lived out here told me was the water, it's called Springfield. The water here is unbelievable, and there's no doubt about that. Springfield water. So then we get into, yeah, sure. So it was anything that puts our water at risk. It just shouldn't even be considered. I mean, it's not like drilling for oil somewhere where, their water might be. Our whole municipality is Springfield, the water. So anything that puts our water at risk or potential risk, why would we even consider it? That's it. Why would we consider it?
Thank you. My question has to do with the West Pine development. So from my understanding, what I've read is that's a very fragile system. The aqueduct is very fragile. That's an incredibly large piece of property slated for development. Has there been any movement on that? Are we pushing that aside? Where are we at with West Pine, if you know?
Thank you. So development probably gonna go forward there because the developers coming there, but what's happening, the water table is so high, so they have to have, not gonna have a proper, lagoons, not lagoons, but septic fields, because probably not gonna be allowable for them. So every lot have to have hydrological study it's very expensive. So people rush first of all to do it, and now they're backing out because that we can't afford it. So that it's supposed to be built 400 houses in that area, but with the cost associated with it, so maybe that area not going to be developed maybe 30, 40 years. Another problem what is there that there is lots of people owning that land, and to properly develop, then you have to have people who gonna, I want to put road not on my property, on your property. So there are disagreements because the allowances have to be. We cannot leave it land that it's landlocked. Everything have to be open so development can happen. But those two issues, and some areas people telling us, like whoever lived there, that on their property they're walking like on a sponge because it's so wet. So and maybe if they develop, if something happen, if they pollute the water, nobody gonna live there. So I don't know why was allowed that to happen, but it was done by previous administration. We didn't have nothing to do this present council. Thank you.
I just have a quick question to that. So along with that development that's going to go in there, so we have all septic fields, we have wells that are going to be probably monthly, taken out by month. That's usually how they empty them. The other question I have is that many homes coming in, what's it going to cost us for all the infrastructure that has to go in? Right now, Birdsville, you're too far from Birdsville to have that fire department. You're 13.5
kilometers to Ophane, which raises your insurance, and you're 0.4 over. And then there's gotta be lights, because Garvin, that whole intersection on Garvin, that's a nightmare for truck traffic. So what kind of costs are we looking at on top of whatever the developers pay and what we pay to that? What kind of costs are we looking at the infrastructure that goes with West Pine? Because that's going to be huge.
Those are all great questions. And it's part of the overall land use development plan that was put in by Springfield Council in 2018. So there's an overlay and you can see that. You can go down to municipal offices. You used to be able to get the whole document free. Now they're charging you. So,
and will all those charges be updated in 2026, 2027?
well, they don't get updated. Our land use development plan is renewed every 12 years. And if we stick to that plan, we don't have the problems that we have right now. Going away from that plan is how we've got into these cost problems. So on Pine Ridge West, the access or ingress onto Garvin is restricted, and you cannot put a new road onto Garvin because it's a provincial, it's determined to be like a provincial highway. So there'll be some kind of a ingress to the side roads and then routing. As far as the wastewater is either pump out or there'll be a more sophisticated ladder type septic field. Wells are fine. Moose Nose Aquifer, Daryl? Is it the Moose Nose Aquifer? West Pine Ridge? Which one is it? Where the Heatherdale wells are. Well, it's the beginning of West Pine Ridge, right? It's the east side of West Pine Ridge. It goes all the way up to Watt Road, north of Garvin, except for the section of land that Boggs got south of Garvin and west of Warren. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter which aquifer it is, but I think it's the Moose Nose Aquifer, and that's the one that's also tied to St. Paul. Okay?
Yeah, I don't know where, Mr. Giesbrecht, you have a question?
Well, I came prepared with 3 dissertations in respect to Sio, your taxes, and the Recall Act. And if you'd afford me that ability to share that with the community here, I would be pleased to do so.
What's a dissertation? We're looking at questions.
It's a formal address as to the topics here. I'm very accustomed to Patrick's denying me, deferring me, not allowing me delegations, dissertations. So I was hoping that we would be open here.
You have to keep it short, and then we can listen to your question.
Okay, tell you what, I'll just deal with one. You know, rather than, because I had a 53-page report that went into, on analysis, to council on our taxes on the last 10 years. And they are not publishing that PDFs for the public to see. So I'm going to stop there on that. Sio, I've got quite a bit on Sio. Well, I'm going to deal with the recall. Regarding the Recall Act, I have here a document dated September 22nd, 2025. That is, and I have there, the very first and original founding framework materials for the Manitoba Municipal Recall Act that I advanced on the public record as of September 22nd, 2025, including the executive brief, preamble, legislative summary, and draft bill structure. What a municipal recall framework ultimately does is restore an additional layer of democratic accountability between elections. It recognizes that the public trust is not something elected officials simply borrow for 4 years without responsibility to the people who place them there. A properly structured recall system creates a lawful, balanced, and carefully safeguarded mechanism allowing residents to respond in rare circumstances where they believe trust, representation, or accountability. Thank you for the individuals that did sign my nomination for mayor. I will be registering tomorrow, fulfilling that promise already to you. I thank you very kindly, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Edwin. Anyone else have a question? All right, with that, we thank everyone for coming. We appreciate your time. We appreciate all your comments and feedback. If you have any questions, you can stay back and talk to us individually. Have a good night. Please drive safe.